Commander Jake Sullivan walked through the crystal halls of the Galactic Council building on Zephyria. His black uniform stood out against the shining walls that seemed to glow with their own light. Other beings moved around him, some floating, some walking on multiple legs, others slithering across the smooth floor. None of them paid much attention to the human. Jake had been coming to these meetings for 5 years now. Earth had sent him to represent humanity in the galaxy's most important political body. The job was simple in theory, but hard in practice. He had to smile, nod, and keep the peace while other species made decisions that affected billions of human lives. The main council chamber was huge. Thousands of seats rose up in circles around a central speaking platform. Each seat was designed for a different type of alien body. Some were filled with water for the aquatic species. Others had special atmosphere controls for beings who breathed different gases. The human section was small, just 20 seats near the back. Jake took his usual place and looked around. The Valkyrie delegations sat in their ice-cold section, their blue skin glowing softly. The Threnody hung from the ceiling in their web-like chairs, their many eyes watching everything. The hegemony representatives took up the largest section. Their reptilian bodies stretched across heated stone platforms. Ambassador Veltar of the hegemony stood up on the speaking platform. He was massive, even for his species. His scaled skin was deep red, and his yellow eyes seemed to look down on everyone else. When he spoke, his voice boomed through the chamber's speakers. "Fellow beings of the Galactic Council," Veltar began, "we gather today to discuss a matter of great importance. The Kepler sector has been thoroughly surveyed, and we have found it to be rich in rare metals and energy sources. The hegemony formally requests immediate access to begin extraction operations." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The Kepler sector was home to 12 human colonies with over 50 million people. These were farming worlds, research stations, and mining operations that had been built over 2 centuries. Families had lived there for generations. A small, insect-like being from the Zith Collective clicked its mandibles. The Kepler sector is currently occupied by human settlements. What are their territorial claims? Veltar's laugh was like rocks grinding together. The humans have had 300 years to prove their worth in the galaxy. They serve as adequate peacekeepers and mediators, but their expansion into valuable territory cannot be allowed to continue. The hegemony has the technology and workforce to extract these resources efficiently. The humans do not. Jake stood up slowly. The chamber's attention turned to him, though most beings seemed barely interested. He was used to this. Humans were seen as useful but not particularly important. They were the galaxy's diplomatic corps, the ones who solved problems and kept the peace, but they were not considered a major power. "Ambassador Veltar," Jake said, his voice calm and steady, "those colonies represent the homes of 50 million human beings. Many of these families have lived there for generations. We have mining operations, research facilities, and established communities. We cannot simply abandon them." Veltar's yellow eyes focused on Jake with something like amusement. "Commander Sullivan, the Council appreciates humanity's service to galactic peace, but the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. The hegemony can extract enough resources from the Kepler sector to supply 17 star systems. Surely you understand the logic of this decision." "I understand that you want to take our homes," Jake replied, "but I don't understand why the Council would support such an action without proper compensation or alternative arrangements for our people." A murmur went through the chamber. Several beings shifted in their seats. The Threnody delegate, hanging from her web above, spoke in her whispering voice. "Perhaps the humans could be relocated to less valuable systems. There are many worlds suitable for their simple agricultural needs." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his face calm. Simple agricultural needs. As if humans were just farmers who happened to stumble into space. As if Earth wasn't classified as a Class 12 death world where the very air would kill most of these beings. "The Council is being generous," Veltar continued. "We are offering the humans 6 months to relocate their people. That is more time than most species would receive. The hegemony has plans to begin extraction in the 7th month. And if we refuse? Jake asked. The chamber fell silent. Valtar's massive form seemed to grow even larger as he leaned forward. Commander Sullivan, the hegemony operates 40,000 warships. We have conquered 17 star systems and incorporated 23 species into our territory. The humans operate what, perhaps 200 patrol vessels? Your people are skilled at mediation and peacekeeping. Do not force us to remind you that these skills are not useful in warfare. Jake looked around the chamber. The other delegates were watching with interest, but no concern. This was just another territorial dispute to them. The strong would take from the weak, and the weak would accept it or be destroyed. It was how the galaxy had always worked. I see, Jake said quietly. The council has made its decision then. The council votes in favor of the hegemony's request, announced the session moderator, a floating gas being whose voice echoed strangely. The human colonies in the Kepler sector will be relocated within 6 months. This session is adjourned. The beings began to file out of the chamber. Some floated, others walked or slithered or rolled. Jake remained standing at his seat, watching them go. Several delegates nodded to him politely as they passed. The Valkyrie ambassador even stopped to speak. Commander Sullivan, I am sorry about the outcome. Perhaps this relocation will be an opportunity for your people to find better worlds. Jake nodded. Perhaps it will. When the chamber was mostly empty, Valtar approached Jake's section. The massive reptile looked down at the human with something like pity. Commander, I want you to understand that this is not personal. The hegemony has nothing against humanity. You are useful beings. But the galaxy operates on strength, not sentiment. Your people have been fortunate to avoid this reality for 3 centuries, but fortune does not last forever. Jake looked up at the towering alien. Ambassador, may I ask you something? Of course. In all your research on humanity, did you ever wonder why Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world? Valtar's yellow eyes narrowed slightly. Your planet has dangerous weather and predatory animals. Many worlds are hazardous. This is not unusual. Did you ever wonder why humans are the only species from a Class 12 world that made it to space? Natural selection, I assume. The strong survive? Jake nodded slowly. That's exactly right. Natural selection, the strong survive. He reached into his uniform and pulled out a small communication device. Ambassador, I need to make a call to Earth Command. Would you excuse me? Veltar waved a dismissive hand. Of course, though I hope you will not waste time with futile protests. The Council's decision is final. Jake pressed a button on the device. The connection took a few seconds to establish across the light years to Earth. When it connected, a woman's voice answered immediately. Admiral Lisa Carter here. Go ahead, Jake. Admiral, this is Commander Sullivan reporting from the Galactic Council. They just voted to relocate our colonies from the Kepler sector to make room for hegemony mining operations. Ambassador Veltar made it clear that we have no choice in the matter. There was a pause on the other end of the line. When Admiral Carter spoke again, her voice was very calm. Jake, did they use the phrase "your kind" or anything similar? The ambassador referred to our simple agricultural needs and suggested that humans should stick to mediation because warfare isn't useful for our species. Another pause. I see. Jake, I want you to stay exactly where you are. Don't leave the council building. Don't go back to your quarters. Just stay put and wait for further instructions. Admiral, what are you planning? Jake, as of this moment, Operation Courtesy is officially terminated. We tried being polite for 300 years. That time is over. Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. Operation Courtesy was the name for humanity's policy of peaceful cooperation with the galactic community. It was the reason humans served as peacekeepers and mediators instead of conquerors. All stations, all ships, all colonies, Admiral Carter continued. The gloves are off. Repeat, the gloves are off. Jake looked at Veltar, who was still standing nearby, clearly listening to the conversation. The massive reptile's expression had changed from dismissive amusement to something like concern. "Admiral," Jake said into the communicator, "what should I tell the council?" "Tell them," Admiral Carter replied, "that they're about to learn why. Every species in the galaxy still tells stories about Deathworlders." The message traveled at the speed of light across human space. It bounced from relay station to relay station, reaching every colony, every ship, every outpost where humans lived and worked. The words were simple and clear. "Operation Courtesy is terminated. The gloves are off." On the mining colony of New Houston, Foreman Rick Davis was eating lunch with his crew when the message came through. New Houston was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Tau Ceti system. The rock was rich in rare metals, but the gravity was 3 times stronger than Earth normal. Most alien species would be crushed flat just standing on the surface. Rick set down his coffee cup and read the message again. Around him, his crew of 40 miners stopped their conversations. These were tough people who spent their days digging through solid rock with tools that would terrify most beings in the galaxy. They came from families who had worked dangerous jobs for generations. "Well, boys and girls," Rick said, looking around at his crew, "looks like we don't have to pretend to be nice anymore." A woman named Carol Martinez laughed and cracked her knuckles. "About time. I was getting tired of smiling at those lizard ambassadors when they came for their inspection tours. Remember last month when that Valkyrie official complained about our crude mining methods?" asked Pete Johnson, a big man whose arms were scarred from years of handling mining equipment. "Said we should use more refined techniques like their people do. Their people can't even survive in this gravity," Carol pointed out. "They had to wear those support suits just to walk around." Rick stood up and walked to the communications console. "New Houston Control, this is Foreman Davis. I need to speak with whoever's in charge of our defense systems." A voice crackled through the speakers. "Rick, this is Commander Nancy Brooks. I've been waiting for your call." "Nancy, we just got the message from Earth Command. What's our situation?" "Well, Rick, remember those new deep core mining charges we installed last month? The ones we told the council were for geological research?" Rick grinned. "The ones that can crack open a small moon? Those would be the ones. And remember how we always complained about having to store them in those inconvenient locations around the asteroid belt? The locations that just happen to be perfectly positioned to destroy any ship that tries to enter our system without permission." "Exactly. Rick, as of today, the Tau Ceti system is under human military control. Anyone who wants to visit us better ask politely first." Halfway across the galaxy on the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, Dr. Amy Foster was working late in her laboratory. She was a small woman with graying hair, the kind of person who looked like she spent her time studying peaceful things like plant growth or star formation. The other species in the galaxy saw her as a harmless scientist. They were wrong. Amy's real job was weapons research. For 30 years, she had been working on Project Prometheus, a program so secret that most humans didn't know it existed. The galaxy thought human technology was limited to simple patrol ships and basic defensive systems. They had no idea what humans could really build when they put their minds to it. Her computer chimed with an incoming message. Amy read it twice, then walked to a special console hidden behind a wall panel. She placed her hand on a scanner and spoke clearly. "Dr. Amy Foster, authorization code Prometheus 77 Alpha." The wall slid open, revealing a room full of equipment that definitely wasn't designed for plant research. Amy walked to the main console and activated a galaxy-wide communication system. "All Prometheus stations, this is Dr. Foster. Phase 2 protocols are now active. Repeat, Phase 2 protocols are now active. Begin final preparations immediately." Across human space, similar hidden facilities received the message. On Mars, beneath the polar ice caps, massive factories that had been disguised as mining operations began producing warships. In the asteroid belt around Sol, automated construction platforms that everyone thought were building simple cargo haulers started assembling something very different. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were much better at keeping secrets than anyone had imagined. Captain. Ben Torres was commanding the exploration vessel New Horizons when the message reached him. His ship was investigating a strange energy reading near the Vega system, far from any major trade routes. Ben was a career explorer, the kind of man who loved discovering new worlds and making peaceful contact with unknown species. But Ben had also grown up on Luna, where his grandfather had told him stories about the old days when humans fought each other for resources. His family had survived the water wars, the Martian rebellion, and the belt mining conflicts. Peace was nice, but Ben knew that sometimes you had to fight to protect what mattered. Captain, said his communications officer, we're getting a priority message from Earth Command. Ben read the message on his private screen. Then he read it again. Finally, he turned to face his crew of 50 scientists and engineers. These were people who had spent years cataloging peaceful first contacts and studying alien cultures. They were scholars, not soldiers. Attention crew, Ben announced over the ship's intercom system. I've just received new orders from Earth Command. Our mission parameters have changed. We are no longer operating as a peaceful exploration vessel. He paused, looking around at his crew. Several of them were smiling in a way that would have made alien observers very nervous. All scientific equipment is to be secured immediately. Engineering, I want you to remove the limiters from our drive systems. Weapons, activate all defensive systems and prepare for combat operations. Captain, asked his first officer, a woman named Helen Park, what about the Prime Directive? We're supposed to avoid interfering with other species. Ben's smile was cold. The Prime Directive assumed that other species would treat us with respect. That assumption has proven to be incorrect. Helen, set course for the hegemony border and wake up the Marines. The crew moved with sudden efficiency. The New Horizons had been designed to look like a simple research vessel, but appearances could be deceiving. Hidden weapon systems deployed from concealed panels. The ship's computer system switched from scientific analysis to tactical assessment. In the cargo bay, 30 Marines who had been traveling as research assistants began checking their equipment. Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's xenobiologist, walked up to Ben with a tablet in her hands. Captain, I've been analyzing the hegemony's military capabilities. Their ships are larger than ours, but they're designed for intimidation rather than actual combat. Their weapons are powerful but slow. Their armor is thick but poorly distributed. What are you saying, Sarah? I'm saying that the hegemony builds their ships like they think war is a formal duel between gentlemen. They don't understand that humans learned to fight by surviving on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Ben nodded. Good, send that analysis to Earth Command. I have a feeling they'll want to share it with our other ships. Back on Earth, in the deep command bunkers beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Lisa Carter was coordinating the largest military operation in human history. Banks of screens showed the positions of every human ship, station, and colony in the galaxy. Officers who had spent decades pretending to be simple peacekeepers were revealing their true training. Admiral, reported Colonel Danny Martinez, all Prometheus facilities are reporting ready status. The shipyards are beginning full production. Estimated time to complete the first battle fleet is 72 hours. What about our existing forces? Carter asked. All patrol ships are being retrofitted with military-grade weapons. The process should be complete within 48 hours. Our merchant vessels are revealing their true nature as military transports. And the colonial defense forces are activating on every world. Carter nodded. The colonial defense forces were something the galaxy didn't know about. Every human colony had a militia trained in combat operations. They looked like farmers, miners, and researchers, but they were actually soldiers who had been waiting for this day for 3 centuries. Admiral, said another officer, we're getting reports from our intelligence network. The hegemony is mobilizing their fleets. They think they're dealing with a minor territorial dispute. Carter's expression was grim. They're about to learn that humans don't do territorial disputes, we do total war. She turned to address the entire command center. Ladies and gentlemen, for 300 years we have been the galaxy's peacekeepers. We have smiled while they patronized us, nodded while they dismissed us, and accommodated while they walked over us. Today that ends. The room was silent, except for the hum of computers and the soft beeping of communication systems. The galaxy is about to remember why Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, Carter continued. And they're about to learn why we're the only species from such a world that made it to the stars. She paused, looking around at her officers. These were people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They were the children and grandchildren of survivors, the inheritors of a warrior tradition that stretched back to humanity's earliest days. Send the message to all human forces, Carter ordered. Operation Courtesy is terminated. Operation Retribution begins now. Across the galaxy, humans who had spent their lives pretending to be peaceful diplomats and simple workers began to show their true nature. War Prince Zekman stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching the stars through the massive viewing screen. His ship was 5 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Behind him, the third fleet of the hegemony stretched across space like a metal forest. 200 warships, each one larger than anything the humans had ever built. Zekman was proud of his fleet. In his 40 years of service, he had conquered 12 star systems and brought glory to the hegemony. The reptilian warrior stood 3 meters tall, his red scales gleaming under the bridge lights. His yellow eyes held the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. War Prince, reported his sensor officer. We are detecting a single human vessel at the edge of our territory. It appears to be heading directly toward us. Zekman's laugh rumbled through the bridge. One ship? Are the humans sending us a messenger? To surrender? Unknown, sir. The vessel is not responding to our hails. Put it on screen. The viewing screen showed a small human ship, maybe 300 meters long. It looked like the simple patrol vessels the humans usually flew. Nothing special about it, just plain metal and basic design. Compared to the Eternal Dominion, it was like a tiny insect approaching a giant. Open communications, Zekman ordered. The screen flickered and showed the interior of the human ship. A man in a simple military uniform sat in the captain's chair. He was maybe 40 years old, with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He looked completely relaxed, as if he was having a casual conversation instead of facing 200 warships. I am War Prince Zekman of the Hegemony Third Fleet, Zekman announced. You are trespassing in Hegemony space. State your business or be destroyed, the human smiled. War Prince, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Steve Murphy. I'm here to deliver a message from Earth. We'd like our colonies back. Zekman stared at the human for a moment, then burst into laughter. His bridge crew joined in, their hissing chuckles filling the air. Colonel Murphy, I must admire your courage, even if your intelligence is questionable. You're facing the entire Third Fleet with a single ship. Do you truly believe you can make demands? Actually, Murphy said, still smiling, I believe I can make you an offer. An offer? Zekman's amusement grew. What could you possibly offer? May? Your life, Murphy replied simply. And the lives of your crew. All you have to do is turn around and go home. Tell your superiors that the Kepler sector is off limits. Do that, and everyone goes home safely. The bridge fell silent. Zekman's amusement vanished, replaced by cold anger. Human, your species, has clearly lost its mind. One have 200 ships. You have one, I have 50,000 warriors. You have, what, maybe a crew of 30? 57, actually, Murphy corrected. But who's counting? This conversation is over, Zekman snarled. Surrender immediately, or I will reduce your pathetic vessel to atoms. Murphy shook his head sadly. War Prince, I really hoped you'd take the offer. My grandmother always said that the best battles are the ones you never have to fight. Your grandmother was a fool, just like you. All weapons, target the human ship. Prepare to fire. War Prince, Murphy said, before you do something you'll regret. Can I ask you a question? Speak quickly. You have 30 seconds before I destroy you. Did you ever wonder why humans are the only species from a Class 12 death world that made it to space? Zekman paused. The question was strange, coming from someone who was about to die. Natural selection, I assume? Your species survived because it was strong enough. Exactly right. We survived because we were strong enough? But do you know what made us strong? I neither know nor care. Murphy's smile grew wider. We learned to be creative. On Earth, the strong didn't always win. Sometimes the smart one, sometimes the fast one, sometimes the ones who could work together won, and sometimes the ones who could think outside the box won. Fascinating. Your 30 seconds are up. War Prince. You're making the same mistake everyone makes when they look at humans. You see one ship and you think you're facing one ship, but who said anything about one ship? Murphy pressed a button on his console. Suddenly, his vessel began to change. The hull split open like a flower blooming, revealing that it wasn't a single ship at all. It was a carrier platform, and dozens of smaller craft were pouring out of it, but these weren't the clumsy human ships the galaxy was used to seeing. These were sleek, deadly vessels that moved like they were alive. They darted between the hegemony ships with impossible speed, their engines leaving trails of blue fire. All ships, open fire! Zekman roared. The Third Fleet's weapons lit up. Space with energy beams and missile trails. But the human ships were already gone, scattered across the battlefield like a swarm of angry insects. The hegemony's massive weapons were designed to fight other large ships in formal battle lines. They couldn't track targets that moved like these human fighters. War Prince, reported his weapons officer. We can't get a lock on them. They're moving too fast. Then fire everything. Saturate the area. The Third Fleet opened up with all weapons, filling space with enough firepower to destroy a planet. But the human ships danced between the energy beams, their pilots performing maneuvers that should have been impossible. They moved like they were extensions of their pilots' bodies, responding to thoughts rather than controls. The first hegemony ship died 60 seconds into the battle. A human fighter slipped through its defenses and fired a single shot into its engine core. The massive warship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the surrounding space. How did they do that? Zekman demanded. Sir, their weapons seem to be designed specifically to penetrate our armor. They're targeting our exact weak points. More ships began to die. The humans attacked in coordinated strikes, 3 or 4 fighters hitting each target from different angles. They knew exactly where to shoot, exactly how to hurt the massive hegemony vessels. War Prince, the communications officer called out, we're receiving a message from the human commander. Murphy's face appeared on the screen again. Behind him, his bridge crew was working calmly, as if this was just another day at the office. War Prince, this is your last chance. Order your ships to retreat, and I'll let the survivors go home. Never. Zekman snarled. The hegemony does not retreat. I was afraid you'd say that. Murphy's expression became sad. Sarah, execute pattern 7. The human fighters suddenly changed tactics. Instead of attacking individually, they began to work together like a single organism. They moved in perfect coordination, creating a web of death that the hegemony ships couldn't escape. Zekman watched in horror as his proud fleet was torn apart. Ship after ship exploded or went dark, their crews killed by weapons they couldn't even see coming. The humans moved with a precision that seemed almost supernatural. Sir, reported his tactical officer, we've lost 60% of the fleet. Our remaining ships are heavily damaged. How is this possible? Zekman whispered. They're just humans. The answer came from an unexpected source. His own ship's computer, which had been analyzing the battle, spoke in its mechanical voice. Analysis complete. Human tactics indicate extensive combat experience. Recommend immediate retreat. War Prince, Murphy's voice came through the communications again. You've lost. It's over. I'm offering you one final chance to save your remaining ships. Zekman looked around his bridge. Half his crew was dead or wounded. His beautiful ship was filled with smoke and sparks. Through the viewing screen he could see the wreckage of his once mighty fleet floating in space. "What are your terms?" he asked quietly. "No terms. Just leave, go home. Tell your superiors that the Kepler sector is under human protection. Tell them that we tried being polite, but that time is over. And if the hegemony sends another fleet?" Murphy's smile was cold. "War Prince, this was just one human ship. We have thousands, and next time we won't be so gentle." The battle had lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, only 37. Hegemony ships remained out of the original 200. They limped away from the battlefield, their hulls scarred and their crews broken. Murphy opened a communication channel to every receiver in the sector. His voice was calm but carried a weight that made listeners shiver. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Steve Murphy to all hegemony forces. The human colonies in the Kepler sector are under our protection. Any attempt to remove them will be met with force. We tried being polite for 300 years. That time is over." The message spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On every world, in every system, beings who had dismissed humanity as harmless peacekeepers suddenly realized they had made a terrible mistake. The age of human politeness was ending. The age of consequences was about to begin. The news of the Third Fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On the hegemony homeworld of Drakmor, Supreme War Commander Thekval received the report while sitting in his crystal throne room. A massive reptilian leader. Read the message 3 times before he believed it. 200 ships destroyed. 50,000 warriors dead. All by a single human vessel. "Impossible," Thekval hissed to his advisors. "The humans have patrol boats and cargo ships. They are peacekeepers, not warriors." General Mector, his chief military advisor, shifted nervously. "Supreme Commander, we have the sensor logs from War Prince Zekman's surviving ships. The humans use technology we have never seen before. Their fighters move like living creatures." "Then we send more ships," Thekval declared. "Mobilize the first and second fleets. 500 ships should be enough to crush these upstart humans." But even as he spoke, reports were coming in from across hegemony space. Human ships were appearing everywhere, attacking supply convoys and military outposts. These weren't the simple patrol vessels the galaxy knew about. These were warships that moved with deadly purpose. On Earth, President Helen Brooks stood before the United Nations General Assembly. The Great Hall was packed with representatives from every human colony and station. The speech was being broadcast across all of human space, reaching billions of people. "My fellow humans," President Brooks began, her voice steady and strong. "For 300 years we have been the galaxy's diplomatic corps. We have served as peacekeepers, mediators, and bridge builders between species. We have smiled while they patronized us, nodded while they dismissed us, and accommodated while they walked over us." She paused, looking out at the assembled delegates. Many of them were ordinary people who had never thought of themselves as warriors. Farmers from the agricultural worlds, miners from the asteroid colonies, researchers from the deep space stations. "Today, that ends," Brooks continued. "The Galactic Council has voted to remove our people from their homes to make room for hegemony mining operations. They have made it clear that they see us as nothing more than convenient servants who can be relocated at will." A murmur went through the assembly. Anger, but also something else. Relief. Relief that the pretending was finally over. "The galaxy believes that humans are weak because we choose peace over war. They believe that our kindness comes from inability rather than choice. They are about to learn how wrong they are." The president activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies and installations. There were thousands of them, spread across hundreds of star systems. What the galaxy doesn't know is that every human child has been trained in the history of warfare. Every colony has a militia. Every merchant ship carries military-grade weapons. Every research station is also a military outpost. The display changed, showing hidden shipyards in the outer systems. Massive construction facilities that had been disguised as asteroid mining operations. Weapons platforms that look like communication. Relays, for 3 centuries we have been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never come, but we prepared anyway. Because we are the children of Earth, and Earth taught us that peace is only possible when you are strong enough to enforce it. Captain Ron Blake watched the president's speech from the bridge of his ship, the Vengeance. His vessel was part of a battle group approaching the primary hegemony shipyard at Zarian Prime. The shipyard was a massive construction facility that could build 20 warships at once. Ron's grandmother had fought in the water wars of 2387 when corporate armies battled for control of Earth's remaining freshwater supplies. His father had survived the Martian Rebellion, when the first colonists fought for independence from Earth's corporate governments. Ron himself had grown up hearing stories of humanity's bloody history. The galaxy thought it knew what humans were capable of in war. They were wrong. They had seen human peacekeepers, not human warriors. They had seen humans trying to prevent conflicts, not humans trying to win them. "Captain," reported his tactical officer, "we're approaching the target." "The shipyard has 12 defensive platforms and 40 patrol ships," Ron nodded. "Signal the fleet. Begin the attack." The human battle group dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zarian system. 50 ships, each one designed for one purpose: destroying enemies. They were sleek and deadly, built with technology the galaxy had never seen. The hegemony defenders reacted quickly, moving to intercept the human fleet. Their ships were larger and more heavily armed, designed to intimidate as much as to fight. But as they closed the distance, something strange happened. The human ships began to change. Hull panels slid back, revealing weapon systems that shouldn't have existed. Engine configurations shifted, increasing speed and maneuverability beyond anything the hegemony had imagined possible. "All ships," Ron broadcast to his fleet, "remember what they did to our people in the Kepler sector. Show them what humans do to bullies." The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks with perfect precision. They didn't fight like the formal naval battles the galaxy was used to. They fought like predators who had learned their trade on a world where everything was trying to kill them. Ron's ship targeted the largest defensive platform. Instead of trading shots at long range like civilized species did, the Vengeance accelerated directly toward the platform, dodging its massive weapons while smaller human ships attacked from the sides. "Sir," called his weapons officer, "we're in range." "Fire," Ron said quietly. The Vengeance's main gun fired once. The defensive platform, which had protected Zarian Prime for 50 years, exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. Across the system, similar scenes played out as human ships tore through the hegemony defenses. The alien defenders fought bravely. But they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand. Humans didn't follow the galaxy's rules of warfare. They followed Earth's rules, and Earth's rules were simple: win at any cost. On the hidden research facility orbiting Volf 359, Dr. Amy Foster was coordinating the activation of weapon systems across human space. Her screens showed the real scope of human military preparation. Facilities that the galaxy thought were simple research stations were revealing their true nature as weapons laboratories. "Phase 3 is proceeding on schedule," she reported to Admiral Carter on Earth. "All Prometheus installations are operational. We have weapon systems online in every major star system." "What about the alien response?" Carter asked. "The hegemony is mobilizing their remaining fleets, but they're having coordination problems. The Velkari Confederation is demanding explanations. The Threnody Collective is pulling back to their home systems. The smaller species are staying neutral." Amy pulled up a tactical display showing the galaxy. Red arrows marked human military movements. Blue areas showed territory under human control. It was spreading rapidly. "Amy, how long until we have complete military superiority in this sector?" "At current rates, maybe 72 hours. The aliens are learning that their ships aren't designed to fight humans. We've been studying their technology for 3 centuries. We know exactly how to hurt them." On the mining colony of New Houston, Rick Davis was watching the battle reports with his crew. The asteroid facility had been transformed overnight from a simple mining operation into a fortress that could destroy any fleet that tried to approach. "Look at this," Carol Martinez said, pointing to her screen. The hegemony tried to attack. A colony at Proxima Centauri. 30 ships against what they thought was a research station. What happened? Pete Johnson asked. The research station turned out to be a military base with enough firepower to level a continent. The hegemony ships lasted about 10 minutes, Rick laughed grimly. My grandfather used to tell stories about the old mining wars in the belt. He always said that miners made the best soldiers because they knew how to work with explosives and they weren't afraid of dangerous environments. The aliens are learning that lesson the hard way, Carol observed. Meanwhile, on the exploration vessel New Horizons, Captain Ben Torres was receiving reports from across human space. His ship was leading a task force that was hunting down hegemony supply convoys. Every time they found one, the result was the same. Total destruction. Captain, reported his first officer, Helen Park, we've intercepted communications between hegemony command ships. They're calling for a full military mobilization. How many ships are they bringing? Best estimate is about 1,500 warships. From all their fleets? They're planning a massive assault on Earth itself. Ben smiled coldly. Good, let them come. It's time they met our home defense fleet. What the galaxy didn't know was that Earth's home defense fleet consisted of over 3,000 warships, all of them hidden in the outer solar system. Ships that looked like cargo haulers were actually troop transports. Asteroid mining platforms were actually weapons factories. Even the space stations around Earth carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just survive on a deadly world. They had learned to think like their world, patient, cunning, and absolutely ruthless when threatened. The message went out across all human communication networks, sent by Admiral Carter from Earth Command. 6 months after the Galactic Council's ultimatum, Ambassador Veltar found himself in a very different position. The proud reptilian diplomat who had once dismissed humanity now sat in a small waiting room on Luna, Earth's moon. His expensive robes were gone, replaced by simple gray clothing. His confident bearing had been replaced by nervous fear. The hegemony no longer existed as a galactic power. Their fleets had been destroyed, their worlds liberated, and their leadership put on trial for crimes against sentient beings. Veltar himself was lucky to be alive. He was here as a representative of the small remnant state that remained from what had once been a mighty empire. The waiting room was simple and clean, with white walls and basic furniture. Through the large window, Veltar could see Earth hanging in space like a blue and green jewel. It was beautiful, but he knew what that beauty hid. Earth was a Class 12 death world, and its children had proven exactly what that meant. Ambassador. Veltar, said a human aide, Admiral Carter will see you now. Veltar followed the human through corridors filled with beings from across the galaxy. Representatives from hundreds of species waited in similar rooms, all hoping for an audience with the new powers that controlled galactic politics. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of human authority had begun. The main council chamber had been completely rebuilt. Where once the Galactic Council had met in a crystal palace on a distant world, the new Galactic Assembly met in a practical facility on Luna. The chamber was larger than the old one, with seating for thousands of representatives, but unlike the old council, where seats were assigned based on military power, here they were assigned based on behavior. Species that protected the weak sat in the front rows. Those that had histories of aggression sat in the back, under careful watch. The hegemony remnant had a single seat in the very last row, next to other former predator species that were learning to behave. Admiral Lisa Carter walked into the chamber wearing a simple blue uniform. She was a small woman in her 50s, with gray hair and calm eyes. She looked like someone's grandmother, not the leader of the galaxy's most powerful military force. But when she spoke, every being in the chamber fell silent. The assembly will come to order, Carter announced. The vast chamber went quiet instantly. Beings who had once commanded starfleets and ruled entire systems sat like scolded children, waiting to hear what the humans had decided. Before we begin today's session, Carter continued, I want to address some questions that have been raised about humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Some of you have asked why we have assumed this responsibility. Others have wondered what gives us the right to judge other species. She walked to the center of the chamber, where a holographic display showed the current state of the galaxy. Human ships patrolled every major space lane. Human bases protected trade routes and colony worlds. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. The answer is simple, Carter said. For 300 years we tried to work within your system. We served as peacekeepers and mediators. We smiled when you dismissed us, nodded when you patronized us, and accommodated your demands even when they hurt our people. The display changed to show images from the old days. Human diplomats bowing to alien leaders. Human colonies being moved to make room for other species. Human ships retreating from confrontations to avoid war. We believed that patience and kindness would eventually create a better galaxy. We were wrong. Patience and kindness only work when they are mutual. When one side shows restraint and the other shows aggression, the result is not peace. The result is oppression. Veltar shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He remembered how easy it had been to push humans around in the old days. How their diplomats always gave in to avoid conflict. How their colonies could be moved at will because humans wouldn't fight back. So we have made a simple decision. Carter continued, humanity will no longer serve as peacekeepers. We will serve as enforcers. Species that prey on the weak will face consequences. Those that harm the innocent will be stopped. Those that start wars will lose them. A delegate from the Zith Collective, a small insect-like being, raised a claw. Admiral Carter, what if we refuse to accept this new arrangement? What if we choose to govern ourselves as we always have? Carter's smile was polite but cold. Then you will discover why every species in the galaxy now tells stories about the day Deathworlders decided to stop being polite. The chamber remained silent. Every being there had heard those stories. How human ships moved like living creatures. How human warriors fought with a savagery that came from growing up on a world where everything tried to kill them. How human technology was centuries ahead of what they had pretended to possess. Let me be clear about the new rules, Carter said. First, slavery is now illegal throughout the galaxy. Any species found practicing slavery will be liberated by human forces. Second, genocide is forbidden. Any attempt to destroy another sentient species will result in the immediate intervention of human military forces. Third, territorial expansion through conquest is no longer permitted. If you want new territory, you ask for it politely and accept the answer. She paused, looking around the chamber. Fourth, and most importantly, the strong will no longer be allowed to prey on the weak. This galaxy has operated on the principle that might makes right for too long. Under human oversight, right makes might. A delegate from the Velkari Confederation, one of the few species that had never been hostile to humans, spoke up. Admiral, what about species that have been peaceful? What about those of us who never participated in aggression? You will find that life under human protection is very comfortable, Carter replied. We have no interest in controlling peaceful species. We only intervene when violence occurs. Trade freely, explore the galaxy, develop your cultures. Just don't hurt anyone. The real demonstration of the new order came when a representative from the Corvan Empire tried to protest. The Corvans had been one of the galaxy's major slave-trading species before the humans intervened. This is outrageous, the Corvan delegate shouted, standing up on his forelegs. You cannot simply impose your will on the entire galaxy. We demand the right to govern our own territory according to our own customs. Carter looked at him calmly. Delegate Thrum, your customs included the enslavement of over 40 million sentient beings. Your territory was built on the suffering of others. You have no right to complain about losing what you never had the right to possess. But our economy, our way of life, You have destroyed everything we built." "You built it on the backs of slaves," Carter replied simply. "It deserved to be destroyed." Security officers, humans in simple uniforms, moved toward the Corvan delegate. He sat down quickly, remembering what had happened to the last species that had tried to resist human authority. The session continued with reports from across the galaxy. Former slave worlds were now free and prosperous under human protection. Species that had been victims of aggression were rebuilding with human assistance. Trade was flourishing because the space lanes were safe, but it wasn't just military power that enforced the new order. Human teachers were spreading across the galaxy, educating young beings about cooperation and peaceful conflict resolution. Human doctors were healing the wounds left by centuries of war. Human engineers were building infrastructure that benefited everyone. The galaxy was learning that humans didn't just excel at war, they excelled at peace too. But it was a peace backed by the absolute certainty that violence against the innocent would be met with overwhelming force. As the session ended, Veltar approached Admiral Carter. The former ambassador who had once looked down on humanity now had to ask for permission to speak. "Admiral," he said quietly, "may I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you think there might be a place for beings like me in this new galaxy? I know I have done wrong. I know I was part of the problem, but is there a chance for redemption?" Carter studied him for a long moment. "Veltar, that depends entirely on you. The old galaxy judged beings by their strength. The new galaxy judges them by their choices. Choose to help others instead of hurting them, and you'll find that humans can be very forgiving." Outside the chamber's windows, Earth continued to turn in its orbit. Ships came and went from Luna spaceports, carrying representatives back to their homeworlds with news of the new order. Some carried hope for a better future. Others carried warnings about the consequences of returning to the old ways. In the depths of space, human patrol ships continued their endless watch. They moved quietly through the darkness, unseen but always present. They were the children of a deadly world, trained in the harsh school of survival, and they had appointed themselves the galaxy's guardians. The age of casual cruelty was over. The age of human justice had begun. And across the galaxy, in every language spoken by every sentient species, parents told their children the same story: the day the Deathworlders decided to stop being polite, and the galaxy learned what real strength looked like.